Right to a channel of like fluid. Play echo. I kind of just want to let this music play for a while before I start speaking. But yes, we are back in this town. And we're on Flynn's route. I did do a short video back in January, just starting it off. If you missed that, the plan is we are going to continue with Flynn's route through to the end. And once that's wrapped up, we're going to jump straight into Jenna's route, which my throat is not looking forward to. And then we'll run through Jenna's route to the end there. And apart from a few endings and a few different scenes due to choices, all of Echo will be done on the channel. After the 7th anniversary of Echo episode 1 is actually a week tomorrow as I record. So, yeah, we're going to take a few years over this, but we'll eventually make it. But it's his Flynn's route, and we're just about to start the Tuesday, so let's get on with that. How's this look? Carl dangles the lure in front of himself, bouncing it around. Flynn squints at it incredulously. I'm pretty sure his muzzle would be hanging open if he didn't have a toothpick in his mouth. Jesus fucking Christ, Carl, what is that? What? Carl has tied the spear in the giant, ugly knot, the string sticking out in every which way. So I told you to fucking wait. I guess Carl had gotten impatient and decided to tie his own lure while Flynn helped me with mine. Flynn takes out a knife from his pocket and takes the spinner from Carl, scowling. I'd throw us away if I didn't have so fucking few of them. What's wrong with you, Carl? Carl shoves his paws into his pocket as he watches Flynn struggle with getting the knot fixed. Don't see what the big deal is. It's attached, isn't it? He looks at me and grins, shrugging his shoulders. I shrug back. I made it so fucking big it's not going to spin right. Flynn's muttering angrily under his breath, squeezing his forearms to his chest as he tries to keep his fingers steady. Carl rolls his eyes and looks over at me and grins. Well, we got a fish with these when we got an otter with us. I'm willing. That's not the point. Flynn almost growls, prodding and poking at the messy knot. It's about relaxing. How's Chase going to relax swimming around the whole time? He finally seems to get a handle on the mess and starts tugging out the line. And how am I going to relax you fucking everything up? The line finally drops away from the spinner. That's what I get for bringing a pothead along. Hey, I'm straight right now. Flynn snickers. You sure about that? Carl rolls his eyes again. That's Chase. I sit on the rocks, I slowly reel in my line, watching my spinner glisten into the water. Why are you asking me? You have, what's it called, gaydar? Isn't the idea that everyone has it? He doesn't respond as Flynn starts showing him how to actually tie the line. I come up empty and cast the line out again, listening to the clicking whir of the reel before the spinner lands with a plop in the middle of the pond. I was wondering where Flynn would go to fish since we wouldn't go to Emma, obviously. Turns out he and Leo found this pond 20 minutes outside of town, deep into the wilderness. Unsurprisingly, no one comes here, which is why Flynn says the fishing is good. There definitely is something calming about being out in the middle of nowhere, especially with the repetitive motions of fishing to keep you occupied. Finally, Flynn finishes showing Carl how to cast, and the ram launches his spinner out, almost all the way to the other side of the pond. Careful, idiot! You get it snagged at the other end, I'll whoop your ass. Oh, lay off, Flynn. Carl reels in fast, then casts out again, making a pew sound as he does. Flynn sighs before walking up next to me, watching as I reel in much slower. I feel a little self-conscious with the way he stands over me, worried I'm doing something wrong. Sure enough, he steps forward, his chest up against my back as he grips the pole. Out above the reel post, here. He holds the rod, then grabs my paw and slides it up the pole. That way you can really grip it when you catch something. He's right up against my back, arms wrapped around me. I swallow and try to focus on the pole. Alright. Arian gives a low chuckle in his throat and I glare. Of course he knows what he's doing right now with my paws on the pole. He's probably rubbing in what he said yesterday. I decide to respond by sliding my tail up the inside of his leg. I feel him shift against me, his chuckle turning into a grunt of surprise. What the hell are you guys doing? Flynn lets go of the pole and steps back as Carl watches us, his face screwed up in exaggerated disgust. Janitor Fish, now it's your turn, fatty. Carl pauses on his reeling. Well, it's not like we haven't done this before. Plus, I never want to feel a coacker on my ass. Too bad. I focus back on fishing, still feeling a little warm from the close encounter I just had with Flynn. A little angry that he tried that, especially so soon after what had happened. I try to focus back on how relaxing the motions are, sweeping the lake clockwise as I cast out again and again. If I really did want to catch a fish though, I'd be swimming in the water right now. It isn't hard to do. I've done it several times when I was younger in the reservoir. Of course that's less relaxing since you have to actively search for the fish rather than just sit placidly until one bites your lure. I've never killed one before though. Careful, Carl! I wince and look to the side, seeing Flynn covering his head and ducking as Carl's lure bounces and swings around above him. He didn't let go of the fucking button! Carl shrugs and starts to swing his pole around, trying to unwrap the line from his pole. Well, if you weren't right up against my tail, you wouldn't have to worry about that. I'm trying to show you. Yeah, pew! Carl launches his lure over the pond so far, it almost lands on the opposite bank. It does, however, wrap tightly around a branch sticking up from a fallen log in the shallows. Fucking believable. Ah, shit, He starts tugging and pulling, trying to get it entangled from the log. No, stop. You have to walk around the edge and get it. What? There's fucking cacti on the edges. No way in hell. Too bad. That's one of my last fucking lures. Oh, come on. Carl's shoulders slump as he looks out across the pond. I sigh and set down my pole and start stripping my shirt off, followed by pants. After a pause, I decide to take off my boxers too. It's not like Jen is here. It takes him a while to stop arguing, now about the plural form of cactus, and realise that I'm now nude. Chase? I'll get the damn lure, just stop arguing. So I only get an excuse to get a little strip tease, huh? Shut up, we've all seen each other naked. I do try to angle my hips away so they can't see my balls and cock. Which is hard to do considering I've got a pretty steep bank to wobble over. I manage it though, and pretty soon I'm sludging through thick mud. Careful, I don't know what the fuck's in there. Didn't you say no one comes here? I don't get his response because I drive right in after that, the familiar feeling of water closing up around me, cutting off air and sound. Again, it's a huge relief to be back in the water, and I drift towards the bottom. It's not deep at all, and the water here has a slimy feel I don't like. Still, it's better than nothing. I undulate slowly across the pond. It doesn't take long to reach the logs, it's only about 30 feet away. I have to bob a few times to the surface to look around though, since the water's too murky to see through. I'm actually kind of starting to regret doing this. I try to remember if I have any cuts or sores I'm going to have to douse in peroxide later. That's when one of my paws bumps the log, and I bob back up to the surface, wiping a paw across my eyes. I see the line glinting above me, some drops of pond water clinging to it. I reach up and grasp it between my index and thumb and follow it to the branch. I feel Carl give it a few tugs. "Yay, Chase! Flynn says there's leeches in the pond." I hear a loud smack followed by a yelp. "Don't fucking yank it around. You want to snag his eyeball?" I ignore them as I search for the lure. I continue to follow the line till I lean over the log and spot the spinner, shimmering in the sunlight, the hook wedged into the soft, wet wood. It comes out easily, and I carefully lift it, making sure I'm out of the way of the hook in case Carl decides to yank the line again. When I turn around, I'm glad to see that Flynn's got the pole now. I hold up the lure to show him and let it drop back into the water. Flynn's slowly starting to reel it back in. I go back in, slowly swimming back to the opposite bank. It's at that point that I see a silver flash to the right of my field of vision. I look over and see a fish, swimming lazily over some plant life on the bottom of the pond. I pause. I would have smiled if my mouth wasn't going to fill with pond water. It'd be funny after all this time with their lures and their paws, for me just to pop out of the water, fish in paw. I swim over to it slowly, lingering to the side so I won't block the sunlight before diving down and snatching it up. I latch in my claws to keep it from escaping as I give it a little wiggle of delight. Been a long time since I've done this, but it looks like I've still got it. I turn and start swimming back to Flynn and Carl, and that's when I suddenly feel like I'm being watched. It's not the typical feeling though. This is much, much more intense. I pause and look back over my shoulder, then forward again. It's pointless because everything's cloudy. I can't see more than 10 feet. I've sunk down to the bottom of the pond, both of my feet resting in deep muck as I crouch, trying to figure out where the feeling is coming from. It doesn't help that my head is starting to buzz, a tone building in my head that sounds like an orchestra tuning. I haven't been down that long. I shouldn't be running out of air. Of course, I should just swim up to the surface where it's bright and safe. But I don't, because this feels too familiar. I think back to when I was 12, playing in the abandoned school with Carl. I was hiding from him in the second-floor classroom when I felt this exact feeling. Intense, almost physical, like a hand was grabbing into the back of my neck. I look around again, then finally look down at the fish in my paws. And now I know where it's coming from. Before I know it, I'm whipping upwards, breaking through the surface in less than a second and swimming towards my friends. I stumble up onto the bank, splashing water everywhere as I do. I'm not holding the fish anymore. What the fuck were you doing? I try to steady my breathing, hoping they'll just think it's because I was down so long, rather than me being freaked the fuck out. Carl's laughing next to Flynn as I start pressing my paws down my body, trying to speed up the drying process. What? Carl shrugs, but Flynn smacks him upside the head again. You pissed in the water while you're under. Great. Honestly, I don't really care right now. I won't worry about it. Didn't come out near it. There's probably worse in there anyway. Speaking of which, why don't you go further up the stream and wash up? I don't want you bringing pond shit in my truck. Okay. I sigh and pick up my clothes, just glad that they seemingly haven't noticed anything's off. Luckily for me, Flynn parked right next to the stream, so it's easy to find. It's freezing cold though compared to the pond, so I get washed up quickly. I gasp and I splash the water over my body, shivering before I stand back and start squeezing the water out of my fur again. Everything okay? I jump and look back. Flynn's leaning against his truck, arms folded, watching me. I blush. It was easier to be naked in front of the two of them, but for some reason it just being Flynn makes it way more embarrassing. I turn back around, pressing my tail harder against my ass. I wave my arms up and down, trying to dry off. Yeah, come for a show? Yeah. I always wanted to see the naked otter mimicking a bird. Shut up, I'm trying to dry off. Flynn doesn't say anything, so I just turn around, not even bothering to cover up, paws on my hips. Okay, seriously, you just come here to see me naked? He hasn't moved at all, but he cracks a smile. Maybe. I don't know that would trip me up, and instead thrust my hips out, legs spread. Well, there you go. I got a towel in my truck. He's still smiling. His eyes definitely aren't on mine. Flynn has flirted with me before, even while I was dating Leo. I vaguely remember there being some altercations between the two. I make my way towards the truck, again trying to angle my hips away from him. You really know how to creep a guy out. I lift on the handle, but the door doesn't open. Hey, unlock the... Ooh! Something shoves harder in the small of my back. I'm thrown forward to land with a wet splat against the hot metal of Flynn's truck. What the hell? Something tall, skinny and muscular presses up against my back. Chills run down my spine as Flynn's muzzle snuffles into my ear, a low growling in his voice. You really think you can just tease me like that and get away with it? His paws slide around my body, between the car and my stomach before moving up my chest. I'm frozen that way, paws against the passenger window as I stare in shock through it at the truck's steering wheel. I'm not really seeing it. There's a pause. I think it's because he's waiting for my response, see if I tell him to stop or not. I don't know. I lean my head back into his neck, feeling my entire body break out into goosebumps as he rubs at my chest. You like that, don't you? I respond with a gasp as his sharp teeth graze across one of my stubby ears, his hot breath sending a wave of chills over my skin. His hands slide back down, slowly, feeling out my body. You're acting like a little slut. You didn't think this was going to happen? I stiffen a little under the remark, lift my tail up again between his legs. You all want to fucking talk? I'm not completely sure about what's going on. This is a spur-of-the-moment thing, or he's just trying to prove a point. What I do know is that we both want it. Flynn's not too bad with his hands. I want to see what he does. Flynn pauses for a second as if he's having second thoughts, but after a while he goes on. Damn, you're fucking hot. He rubs my stomach, which I suck in, and have to keep from whimpering as one of his fingers teases my belly button. I like skinny guys. That's just a natural part of being an otter. I can tell you don't work out. Hey, I still have to keep in shape. I swim. I can't go on as he breathes into my ear again, making me gasp and lean my head back, biting my lip. Yeah, sensitive ears, huh? Finally gets to my lower stomach and he pauses, waiting again for my response. Again I don't say anything, instead pushing my butt back into his crotch and thighs. One of his pinky fingers prods gently to the top of my sheath. Suddenly lets go from cupping my stomach to cup my balls, pushing the furry sack up against my body. I gasp loudly, eyes wide as I feel my sheath filling up as his thumb prods at my nuts. There's something mind-blowingly bizarre about having one of my childhood friends groping me like this. It's got me all kinds of confused. 3 years ago, just before I left, this would have been insane. No in hell would I have been okay with it. But now, something about the time we'd been apart has made all of this okay. And incredibly hot. I think not having any sort of release over the past few days has something to do with it. Flynn suddenly lets go, then grabs me by the shoulder and turns me around roughly. Once my back is pressed firmly against his truck, he grabs my wrists and pins them up by my head. With my body fully exposed, he looks me over, a hungry look in his eyes. I just stand there, feeling vulnerable under his gaze, especially when he gets to my junk. I get harder just with him looking at it. His eyes flick back up to mine and I look back at him. Then I give him a smirk. Flynn sneers back and suddenly his head dives in. I have just a second to gasp before I feel his muscle close around my neck, and I freeze, first standing up all over my body. Flynn gently undulates his head, getting his teeth past the thick fur on my neck to prick at the skin underneath. I stare at the sky, mouth hanging open as I clutch at his chest, feeling the chuckle past his pecs as he keeps me pinned. Then he presses his thick, strong tongues through my fur to tease at the flesh, pressing against the pulse in my neck. My knees go weak and I sag against the truck, letting out a loud, gasping whimper. This spurs the lizard on. He lets out another chuckle, doing it again, clearly wanting me to make more noises. How the hell did he know all of my weak spots? For some reason I start to wonder if he's talked to Leo about me, and that brings up all kinds of complications I don't want to think about right now. I shove it to the back of my mind. Besides, I know Flynn's weak spots too. Flynn brings down my right paw from its position against the window, which is fine because he was starting to fall asleep. Then he presses it against his stomach. He's warm and soft, his leathery hide sliding smoothly along the muscles of his belly. It's clear he doesn't work out either. I'm okay with that. Shit, I'm feeling a handful for a wolfie boy. He's not the type to easily submit. Flynn's right. Leo's a stubborn boyfriend, in and out of the bedroom. A lot of coaxing I could eventually get him to see things my way. That hardly ever happened. I had a lot more energy as a teenager, more zest, I guess. It's hard to explain. Over the years I just become more, exactly what Flynn's accused me of being. Personally I just chalk it up to growing up. But right now I do sort of feel like my old self, and that's kind of incredible. Hey, I'm a versatile otter. I like to trade off. I grin as Flynn guides my paws in his briefs, returning a smirk. I'm about to continue the stroker when Flynn suddenly pulls away. He lets go of my wrists, the expression on his face strange again. He's looking for something. I'm confused, still sort of slack-jawed as I stare back at him. What? Slowly his expression becomes more resolute, almost dark as he steps back further away from me, folding his arms. Nothing. Just realised that Carl could see us. We shouldn't have done this here. Huh? It's acting like I started this. I'm feeling self-conscious now that he's clearly not interested in continuing. I turn away slightly, one paw against the car as I angle my body so he can't see my dick anymore. I look back over my shoulder at him, feeling myself getting angrier. Hey, you're the one who... But he's already turned around and heading back towards the pond. I watch him go, feeling bewildered and maybe even a little hurt. Asshole. I mutter under my breath. Did he stop because he decided I wasn't up to his standards? The idea hurts even more because I imagine those are pretty low. I stand there for a while longer, feeling like a complete idiot before finally heading back to the stream. I picked up all kinds of shit from smearing my body against his dirty truck. I'll be sure not to let him take advantage of me so easily again. We're headed down Elizabeth Street after dropping Carl off, the drive only a little awkward. Flynn's really good at acting like nothing's wrong when he wants to. I'm totally fine with that right now. That's when I see a set of familiar ears through the window of the convenience store. Hey, is that TJ? Flynn ducks his head to look out my window. Looks like it. He flips a U-turn, which isn't a big deal since no one's on the road, and pulls up into the parking lot. What are you doing? Stopping by to say hi? Oh, okay. I guess I need to buy some stuff anyway. Look out the window so Flynn can't see the look on my face. I already know that this is a bad idea. TJ's at the register, and his ears flick in our direction before he turns to see us. At first he smiles when he sees me, then his ears fall flat as he sees Flynn coming behind me. Jenna pokes her head from behind TJ, and now I know this is a really bad idea. They're both a little dirty, and TJ has his backpack on. I wave them to let them know I've seen them before moving towards the back of the store. I need to get some bottled water since I don't really like drinking from the faucet in the motel. I hear Flynn say something as he walks up to them, and I silently hope that by the time I get back everything will be magically resolved. Because the old corner market closed, this is the only place where you can buy food, well, aside from the diner. Looking around the selection, I can see why Flynn takes the 30-minute drive to Peyton to get his food. I grab a few water bottles and head back to the front. My hopes of resolution are dashed as I see the awkward situation unfolding in front of me. TJ's standing on the side of Jenna now, keeping her between him and Flynn. No one's saying anything as I get to the register, the air tense and TJ fidgeting with his facial fur. As I pull out my wallet, I look over at Jenna. Hey, how's your hike?
Fine. Hot.
Ah. A red fox I don't recognise takes the $2 I hand to him. I feel Flynn shift around next to me, then I hear him taking a breath. Hey, Tej, did you...
Hey, Flynn, did you forget what happened yesterday?
I cringe. Jenna's tone is sharp, and now I just wish I could turn invisible. Huh?
Can't you tell he doesn't want to talk to you?
Flynn doesn't say anything. The tension is so thick in the air, I feel like I'm back in the slimy pond. The cashier fox pauses in handing me my change, staring at Flynn and Jenna. Thanks. I almost yell as I reach out for the money, as if the volume of my voice will make everyone forget and provide Flynn the opportunity to escape. It doesn't work.
We're not kids anymore, Flynn. You can't just treat us like crap and expect us to act like it's okay when we decide we're worth talking to again.
Flynn's hunched forward, staring off to the side towards the back of the store. TJ suddenly heads for the door. I can see his face twitching as he passes me. Jenna follows him, past Flynn, while turning around she reaches the door.
If you want to talk to us again, then you're going to have to act like an adult and apologise. Otherwise, later.
She exits, leaving us in the most awkward, painful silence I've ever heard in my life. The clerk openly stares at Flynn. I fumble with the change in my wallet, trying to pretend like nothing happened. Do you wanna... Flynn turns and walks out the door. I watch him get in his truck, then pull out, his face expressionless. For a while I stare at the empty parking space as I slowly shove my wallet into my back pocket. The clerk, without anyone else to stare at, is now staring at me. Annoyed, I look right at him. What? He stares back at me, expression vacant. Huh? He's young, with a patchy fur and missing teeth, and the look in his eyes tell me everything I need to know. I suddenly realise where I am and where I come from. This alone quashes all the good feelings I have left of the day. This fox in front of me practically embodies all the problems with this small town. I feel such a bizarre, intense wave of hatred for him that I have to leave the store. Pressing the 2 water bottles against my chest with one arm, I shove my free paw into my pocket, staring at the ground as I walk back to the hotel.
I'm sick of him thinking he can do whatever he wants without any sort of consequence.
Jenna rustles around in the drawer before using her hip to close it with a snap. She turns to me.
I'll apologise to him once he apologises for ruining the trip.
I open my mouth and close it again. Of course, asking Jenna to make up with Flynn is a lost cause. It's like asking Carl to take off his beanie. Sitting on the bed, I glance to the bathroom door, the faint sounds of TJ's shower coming from within. I hear Jenna sigh before the bed wobbles as she takes a seat next to me.
I'd probably feel bad if you hadn't fucked everything up already.
I rub the back of my neck with a hand, trying to think of something I can say to convince her. It's just that Flynn's always like that. It doesn't mean anything bad.
Yeah, well, I'm sick of having to deal with it. You need to learn how not to talk like an asshole.
This is one of the reasons why Flynn never fucks with Jenna, or really says anything to her at all. She's kind of exempt from the whole unspoken pact we made to just let Flynn's dickishness slide. Even sensitive TJ accepts it and takes the playful ribbon well enough. I hear the shower shut off, followed by the high-powered whoosh of the hotel's cheap dryer. Being a lynx, TJ probably had to stand in that thing for a good 10 minutes before he's even damp.
We're adults now. If he wants to get anywhere in life, he needs to shape up.
He's getting along all right. Jenna snorts.
Yeah, he's planning to stay here for the rest of his life.
I mean, what's wrong with that? I can tell Jenna's giving me a look. I don't give her the satisfaction of turning my head to see it.
Seriously? Anyway, it's clearly a defense mechanism. He feels vulnerable without his I'm an asshole blanket.
I mean, you're not a psychiatrist yet, Jenna.
I'm not going to be a psychiatrist. You don't need a psych degree to see it.
I don't respond, not seeing the point in arguing about Flynn any further. Jenna stretches, then gets up to go over to her laptop on the small table, where I lay back on the bed, closing my eyes. Absent-mindedly, I pull out my phone discovering a text from Leo. I've got to tell you we're having a surprise party for Carl tomorrow. I frown and type out a quick response. You're telling us this now? It's not until next month.
Oh, what's up?
Jen is looking up for a laptop with the expression on my face. Leo says we're having a surprise party for Carl tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
You knew?
Well, yeah. Leo told us on the drive back from the river.
My phone buzzes again. Sorry, we're going to the store tomorrow to get some presents. Don't worry about it. I frown. This is kind of weird, and a whole month early. Jenna shrugs and looks back down at the laptop.
Something to do, I guess.
I guess. I type in the response to Leo again. I have a lot to do tomorrow. I was planning to go get some footage in the morning.
Leo's always been weird. Do you follow any of his accounts? He's always posting pics of his food and stuff.
My phone buzzes again. Well, I guess I can get the present for you. You're definitely going to the party, and then we're going to go out to see a movie. I suppose that doesn't sound too bad, as long as I'm able to get at least something done for the project. Something's still bothering me about the whole get-together, though. I can go to the party, but I might need to stay and do more project stuff. What about Flynn? I send that one with some hesitation, feeling like me and Leo conspiring behind Flynn's back. Then I remember what I did behind Leo's back with Flynn, and my toes curl reflexively in a cringe. Yeah, technically it's none of Leo's business what I do, but it doesn't change the feeling of wrongness I have about it. I told the idea of texting Flynn as well, but knowing him, he probably won't respond right now.
I am sorry, to you at least.
I look up my phone at Jen, who's clacking busily away at her laptop. For what? Her typing pauses.
Because pissing Flynn off like that is just going to make this an even shittier vacation.
I sigh and look back down at my phone, waiting for Leo's response. Well, I don't know. I guess he needed to hear it from someone. My phone buzzes again. I had a talk with him, it's fine. I'm about to say something else to Jenna, but I can hear TJ starting to open the door, so I just shut my mouth and close my eyes again. I actually end up sleeping in the next day. Leo tries to coax me to go along, but I mumble something about needing to finish my project. The next thing I know, it's an hour later and the motel room is empty. I chastise myself for the late start I'm getting and roll out of bed, skipping a shower instead gathering up all my equipment. I decide to head the old school, mostly out of convenience. It's less than a mile up Main Street. It's broken down and vandalised to hell, which looks great through the camera. The original Echo School was built back in the early 1900s, but it was torn down and rebuilt in the 50s. That's the building I'm looking at now. Apparently all grades were combined into this one building, which was sectioned off by 3 floors. Echo Elementary, Echo Junior High, and Echo High. After 1980 there were too few students to keep it functional. They started busing everyone to Peyton instead, closing Echo School down. It's a 2-story brick schoolhouse with a basement and about 30 rooms inside. I remember my parents saying that after it closed down, it was a rite of passage to sneak into the school at night and graffiti up the walls. Basically everyone drew a pentagram. I set the camera up to get a few shots of the outside of the school, making sure to emphasise the graffiti on the front and avoid the white soccer goal. Apparently Echo was still put in the field to use. The windows are foggy, and though there are dozens of squares of glass missing, it's pitch black inside. I calculate in my mind how long I'll be speaking over this portion of the footage, realising it probably won't be longer than 10 or 15 seconds. I feel a little flare of annoyance at the thought of how much I'm putting into this, and how little I'm getting out. I wonder if this is really the kind of thing I want to be doing, and not for the first time. After about half an hour of trying different angles, I finally straightened up, wiping my forehead. The sun is at the point of warming the top of my head. I know within half an hour I'll be burning up. I start packing up my camera when I feel a different sensation on the top of my head. A slight pressure and a prickle. The feeling that I'm being watched. I look back up at the school building. It's quiet, broken and stoic, like it has been for the past few decades. Still, my eyes are drawn to the second floor, specifically to the window on the far right. I stare hard at it, narrowing my eyes. Behind the glass, in the dark room, something curves out from the right side of the window. It's a lighter colour, and it stands out in stark contrast against the black of the rest of the windows. It could be anything really, but as I stare at it, I get the same vibes from it as I do from Carl's horns. I stare at it, waiting to see if it moves, morbidly imagining a face peering around the corner at any moment. Picturing Carl suddenly jumping out to stare at me from the window is kind of funny. But also creepy, because I can't imagine what he'd be doing up there. The hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and I look around, kind of hoping that someone might be nearby. It's deserted, of course, my only company being the sun-baked road and dried sagebrush. I turn my attention back to that spot next to the window, half expecting there may be a horn to be gone. It's still there, though, not having shifted at all from when I first spotted it. I shift the strap of the camera bag onto my shoulder and stand up straight, or move a little closer to the building, next to the doors for a better look. Maybe it's the handle to something. Maybe it's the handle of an old watering can, maybe for a class project forgotten long ago. Maybe. I shrug off the feeling and turn to leave. Something itches in the back of my brain. I look back at the door and can tell right away there isn't anything holding it shut. At least not on the outside. Maybe I could get a few shots of what's in there. I walk slowly up to the door, a thin piece of plywood. Definitely not what was here originally. A small tin, no trespassing sign hangs from it, almost completely rusted through. I give the door a tentative push and instantly gives way, sliding noisily across the concrete ground. Inside there's a staircase right in front of me. To the left and right there are wide, darkened hallways. I'm just crossing over the threshold when I realise what I'm doing. Even if I did get some good footage, it'd have been from breaking into the place illegally. I'd basically be filming a crime for a school project. The floor creaks above my head, and I realise just how stupid this is. I turn back around, making sure to shut the rickety door behind me fully before I start back towards the road. It was a dumb idea, sure. I've come up with a lot of stupid ideas. But for some reason I can't shake the feeling that had been especially weird. I'm at the end of the road when I remember the horn at the window. I don't turn around.
So, how do you even know that he's here?
Jen eyes Leo as we make our way up the walk to Carl's house. So I'm looking up at the mansion, thinking of how you imagine a lot of things being bigger when you're younger. Not Carl's house. I always forget how big it is when I see it again. Even kids from Peyton wanted to hang out with Carl because of it. Carl is here like 95% of the time. Besides, how would he get around without his parents? Jen doesn't say anything as TJ bounds up to the door and rings the doorbell while balancing a cake against his chest.
Everything is so old-fashioned here.
TJ seems to have cheered up since the incident a few days back. At least that's what he's been putting out so far. Sometimes it's hard to tell with TJ. We wait a while, there's no answer. Jenna looks pointedly at Leo, who pointedly ignores her. He's probably asleep.
And how do we wake him up?
I want to ask where Flynn's at, but even mentioning his name around TJ seems risky. Leo's looking up a window to the right of the door, about 10 feet off the ground. You know, if I boost you up, you'll be able to reach.
Are you kidding me?
I shift the bag of presents I'm holding, glancing down the red tissue paper on the top. So, what did I get, Carl? Leo doesn't seem to notice me, continuing to frown at Jenna. Or else we're going to wake him up.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe if I send him a text in advance, have him meet us somewhere rather than just going to his house completely unannounced.
Leo huffs. I can see his face getting red under his fur. Jenna has a fair point. I still felt bad for the wolf. I mean, he usually is here, isn't he?
Let's not fight, guys. It's supposed to be a party.
TJ's generally disappointed voice seems to put a pause on the tense mood, and Jenna sighs while looking out the window.
I guess I could try.
Great. Leo hops down off the deck, but at that moment a big rusty truck pulls into the driveway of Carl's house. It's Flynn, and next to him in the passenger seat is an unconscious-looking ram. The hell? Flynn parks before slowly and quietly opening the door. Man, what the hell are you doing? Leo whisper yells it as he walks up to the truck, glancing over at Carl, who's leaned back in the seat with his mouth hanging open. Even from here I can hear him snoring. Hey, Wolf, you still want it to be a surprise, you'll shut up. What the hell are you doing? Flynn rolls his eyes. We went to the reservation. What? Why? Is it something we do sometimes? I texted you we were going to surprise him. Yeah, that's why I'm here. Flynn rubs the back of his scaly head. It's a little late is all. Started winning more than I usually do, so Carl and I stuck around for a little longer.
You were gambling? Of course, because that's all the reservation is good for, huh?
Whoa. Flynn holds up his hands defensively. What's with all of you? Flynn's eyes settle on me, and for some reason I feel my heart give a jump. Jeez, what the hell crawled up everyone's ass? I feel like the answer should be obvious, but if Flynn's trying to get things at least somewhat close to normality, then I'm fully behind him. You know how Leo is, his way or the highway. Leo shoots a glare at me, but I grin at him, trying to lighten the jab. I sense TJ further back behind me, separate from our group. I really wish I knew what he's thinking right now. Leo lets out a tiny growl before turning back to Flynn. You could have at least told us. Flynn sighs and glances back at the ram sleeping in the truck. Oh, why don't you guys go inside? This whole surprise thing isn't as weird. It's locked. Flynn walks over to Carl's side before turning to us. Go to the back. There's a key into the doormat. We get into position in front of the door. TJ's a little more enthusiastic, hiding against the walls to the left of the door, a party popper in his hand. I hear a soft clopping along with a low murmur of Carl's voice. The door swings open. Dude, so I want to put it behind me and not think.
Surprise!
Carl stands there, frozen as strings of confetti drape across his horns. For a moment it goes completely silent and we all stare back at him. Finally TJ giggles.
Oops, didn't mean to get it on your horns.
TJ goes about picking the confetti off Carl's head, his hesitant movements making it obvious how hard he's trying to avoid touching the horns. What? Carl finally breaks the awkward silence. He continues to stare at all of us, pushing TJ's hands away to pull the confetti off himself. Leo steps forward, a clearly forced smile on his face. Your birthday. Happy early birthday. Carl continues to stare. Flynn steps up to his side and puts an arm around his shoulder. Yeah, there isn't much to do around here, so we had to come up with something. But a birthday party for me? It's not for another month. You're happy, Carl. This is probably the last birthday party I'll ever get. Carl opens his muzzle, then snaps it shut, his long ears twitching around.
Carl, this is basically just a party. Your birthday is just an excuse to have it. Oh, come on, Jenna. We got you gifts and everything.
Leo nods at me. I take that as my cue to lift my bag into the air, grinning sheepishly.
I mean, it was Leo's birthday last month. So what? You want to just re-gift everything to him?
Flynn gives a hard tug on one of Carl's horns, and he swats at Flynn's hand with more annoyance than I'm used to seeing him have. And cake. TJ raises the cake in the air. Flynn leans against Carl, pointing at it.
See? Red velvet, your favourite.
I'm silently thankful that Flynn's trying this hard to not let Carl freak out. I think we're all a little taken aback at how much he's resisting. Carl's shoulders do droop a bit to the side of the cake, though. Where are your plates? Jen is over the cupboards, opening a few and looking inside. This kitchen is huge.
Second one over.
At that point, we've managed to shake off the awkward haze we're in and start moving to the table.
So, we've got the whole day planned out for you.
Yeah. Carl stands at the end of the table, one hand on the chair as he watches all of us. Well, I knew Carl wouldn't really be into the idea of a party. I didn't think it'd be this bad. I wonder if his anxiety's gotten worse since the incident at the university.
We're going out to eat later and then a movie. Thought you might want to see the new Lucia Lobo film, you know?
Carl's hands go up to pull the beanie tighter over his head.
Well, as long as you don't tell the waiters it's my birthday.
Oh yeah, isn't that place by the theatre where they basically force you to wear one of those cone hats?
Yep. Oh, I swear to God, if one of them gets all touchy in my horns trying to put it on. What? You'll blow pot smoke at them?
I think it's kind of fun. TJ's struggling to pull the plastic dome off the cake. Leo reaches out to help him, but pops free at that moment, takes a large glob of frosting off the side of the cake.
Ah! Go on, Teach. We give that piece of Carl so we can stay on his diet.
Flynn puts air quotes around the word diet. An awkward silence follows, one that Flynn clearly notices, and I see him sulk in response. Carl coughs.
Didn't have breakfast, so this should be fine.
Leo clamped his paws together.
While we're having cake, why don't we start opening your presents, huh?
Carl grabbed the bag and unceremoniously dumped it out on the table. He goes through them, giving an obligatory thanks when he finds out who gave it to him. I see my gift for the first time along with Carl. It's a horn band in black and orange. University of Pueblo colours. We used to make fun of the jocks that wore them at Pueblo.
Thanks.
He looks at me as if trying to figure out if I'm joking or not. I can only offer a pained smile in response. It's only now that I'm feeling guilty for not getting him the present myself. I'll get him another one on his real birthday. Flynn steps forward at that point.
Here's mine, so I got from the reservation.
Flynn reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small and hidden in his hand. When Carl sees it, his eyes widen.
Oh, wow.
It looks like a rectangular piece of metal with 2 points sticking out of the top. It's not until Carl pushes the thumb against one of those horns and it pops open that I realise it's a lighter.
Now you don't look like a total loser when you get blazed.
Carl gives Flynn a small smile before flicking the lighter on before snapping it shut.
Oh, thanks, man. Don't worry about it. Store owner actually gave me a discount. They still remembered me from all the smokes I used to buy there. You went all the way to the reservation for that?
Cigarettes are untaxed on the reservation. Another thing it's useful for, huh, Flynn? A chill descends over the room again after it just warmed up.
Right. It's went to the casino. The cigarettes were just...
Mm-hmm. Flynn stops and frowns, looking confused and hurt. At this point I start feeling myself wanting to stick up for him. The rest of the party is stiff and uncomfortable as Flynn stews in the corner. Finally, Leo stands up and tells us to get out to the car. Leo gives Flynn a look. I can tell he's going to confront him on something. Quietly, I linger towards the door and listen as the rest of them head out.
Oh, so now I just can't say anything to him, huh?
Flynn.
The look on Leo's face is deadly. His eyes are narrowed, ears flat against his head, teeth bared. Flynn's initial indignation cools and he backs up. You promised me you wouldn't fuck this up. You said you wouldn't cause any problems. I was fucking trying to make things better. Can you read a fucking room? No one wanted you to say anything to him. What? So I'm just going to let things stay like this the whole week? Well, that's kind of your fault, isn't it? I'm trying to be nice to him. Did you see Jenna? She's not fucking helping. You know how TJ is. Just leave him alone. He's a fucking adult. He's not some little kid you have to protect. That's why it's been years that all shit hasn't manned up enough to say what actually happened. Leo's hackles flare. See, that's what this is about. You only want another chance at him. Leo's looking at Flynn with pure disgust on his face. Sounds like you think I just want to fuck him. I don't want to put it past you, slut. Flynn leans back with a smirk. And I'm not the only one that's here motives, eh? Flynn's eyes flick to me. Leo doesn't even say anything in response, instead just letting out a rough snarl. Flynn only flinches a little, doesn't move, just folding his arms, staring hard at the wolf. I don't want to see you talking to him again this week. If you do, I'll shove your fat tail so far up your ass. I'm here, drink fur. Chase, get out to the car. I jump as Leo snapped his head in my direction. I'm torn about this. Don't feel like Flynn did anything wrong in trying to talk to TJ. If what Leo suspects is true, I think I need to... Alright, cool. Leo punches the door frame on his way out, swinging the door shut with a smash. Flynn retains his position against the back of the couch, his arms folded, coolly chewing on his toothpick. We both listen to the sound of Leo's truck starting up before it fades as they pull out. Look over the leftover cake on the table, wondering if I should clean it up just to give myself something to do. The glob of cream stuck to the side of the plastic dome gives me a jolt of genuine sadness at the mess this whole get-together has turned into. Flynn, meanwhile, retains his slouched sulking. Finding the pressure is too much, I feel a need to say something. So... As if that's his cue, Flynn turns on his heel and stalks out the door. Hey! I scramble to follow him out the door, feeling more annoyed than sorry for him at this point. Where are you going? Flynn doesn't say anything. He walks up to the truck and yanks open the driver's side door. He slams it shut just as I walk up to the door. What the fuck? He finally does turn to me then, shifting the toothpick around his mouth before he speaks. What? What do you mean what? You can't just take off. Why not? Flynn arches his prominent brow at me and I struggle to think of what to say. Not like he owed me anything. Didn't stick up for him there at all back there. Was he expecting me to? As far as he knew, I just needed to get my project done. I just thought you could give me a ride. Flynn smirks at me. Where? The mine. You serious? I mean, it's a few miles away. You know it's sealed up and everything, right? Well, yeah. Doesn't mean I can't get a few shots of the outside. Flynn sighs heavily, and that annoys me more than anything else. Whatever, man. I turn around and start heading up the road, not even sure if it's the fastest way to the mine. The next 10 seconds I walk briskly up the road, but Flynn's car doesn't start up. I already know he's going to relent before he says it. Fucking hell. Hey! I turn around, try not to smile. What? You know what. Get in. I try not to look too eager as I make my way over to the passenger side and hop in. You get smart, don't you? I roll my eyes. I don't think anything. You're the one shooting yourself in the foot all the time. Whatever, man. I stare through the bars of rebar into the darkness of the old mine. There's a damp, cold breeze coming from inside, but all I can smell is dirt. Yep, beautiful, ain't it? Might as well just slap that mine gel on a flag. Represents the town pretty good. Flynn leans against the truck, chewing on another one of his toothpicks. There's an unsettling feeling about the whole place. I'm kind of glad Flynn is with me because of it. It's a good 3 miles from the town centre and the gravel road is deserted. Our only company is a few crumbled ruins and foundations scattered every 20 feet or so. The only sign of modernity is an oddly placed long patch of asphalt and 2 tall lampposts at the end of it. The town had tried to turn the area into a tourist destination a decade ago, but the recession put a hard stop to that. That seems to be a running theme in the town's history. Progress halted by outside forces. Don't you have some say in that? I mumble absent-mindedly, messing with the settings on the camera. No, I'm the clerk. I just mess with records and shit. It's still hard for me to imagine Flynn working in that position. Shouldn't you be there now? It's still before 5. Maybe, but why bother? What? He looks up at me, toothpick bobbing around in his mouth, eyes wide as he shrugs. What, think anyone's going to notice? You get paid to do nothing. But won't you get fired? It's an elected position. Well, unelected then? It goes unchallenged every year, Chase. I frown. Doesn't Flynn have any sense of duty? Flynn takes a toothpick out of his mouth and stabs it in my direction. Hey, I didn't bring you here to get lectured about how to do my job. I've been doing it for the past 3 years. Flynn shoves the toothpick back in his mouth. Anyway, I was kidding. I'm part-time. I get my shit done and I leave. I set the camera on the tripod and look through the lens. Don't me. There's a good amount of satisfaction I get out of teasing Flynn. I mean, your cousin or whatever is the mayor, right? My aunt is. So what? Isn't that nepotism or something? Flynn sighs heavily behind me. Elected. Alright, just seems kinda, I don't know, like not a good thing. As I film, I can hear him really starting to grumble behind me, so I try to change the subject. Well, that's good to see you're still not smoking anymore. The toothpick's helping? And alright now, they're not. Flynn has smoked since he was a freshman in high school. I distinctly remember him offering me cigarettes when I was like 14. He always gets pissed off when I remind him about that. I pick up the camera and move it to a different angle. Well, maybe give Leo a few pointers. He doesn't say anything and I close my eyes when I remember what just happened with the wolf. I film for another minute, then turn around to face him. I'm sorry about what happened. Flynn doesn't look at me, instead choosing to stare out to the desert. Why, you didn't do anything. But I could have. This project is why we're here in the first place, isn't it? Flynn sighs and finally looks up at me, his eyes all the more piercing with the bright sunlight. You know, one thing I can't stand is people apologising over nothing. I frown. What does that mean? Yeah, you can apologise, but in the end all it's doing is making you feel better or fixing nothing. I glare at him, feeling my face get hot, even more than it is in the desert heat. He shrugs and leans against the car, head tilted back and eyes shut against the sun. I stalk over to stand in front of him. I can see a smile playing at the edges of his muzzle. Man, fuck you. On the last word, I jab a finger into his stomach. His eyes fly open and he grunts loudly, doubling over. Jeez, Chase. I fucking stayed in this shithole for you while everyone else is having fun. Is this the thanks I get? Oh, so you stay behind just for me? Flynn stays curled up, rubbing his stomach. His face is inches from mine. He's still got a stupid grin on his face. You're an asshole. Ah, Chase, my heart. He clutches his chest dramatically. More like his stomach. I poke at it again, but he reacts too quickly, his lithe torso bending out of the way. Can't get your hands off me, can you? I just fold my arms, glaring at him. Flynn finally straightens up, looking around. Well, I'm not going to do a repeat of yesterday. I've got a house, you know. Is he talking about how he fooled around yesterday, and he's invited me back to his house? Or more specifically, his bedroom? I swallow. I don't want to look too eager like that's the only reason I stay behind. You know, I'm a little hungry. You want to go out and get something first? Flynn snorts as he gazes down at me. What, from the diner? You know that fucks me up. I think. You said you cooked me a few days back. Flynn sighs, rubbing a hand behind his head. What is this, some kind of date? Well, you said you'd had dinner first before... I trail off as Flynn raises a brow at me. I said a drink.
We can have that too.
Flynn looks off into the desert again, thinking. Fine, I'm going to get you back for that poke. I smirk. Yeah, what? He turns away from me, his tail comes in and knocks against my crotch. It wasn't all that hard, but it's enough to make me feel it in the bottom of my stomach. Ah, fuck, come on. I walk bow-legged for a few seconds, then move to gather up my equipment. Don't think now's an equal exchange. That's because you ain't a lizard. Now hurry your ass up.
So we're going to leave things there for now on Wednesday. And we'll pick it up in the next video where we get to meet Daxton. Which gives me time to think of what he might sound like. I have no idea what voice I'm going to do for him. But that'll be in the next video. I'm not going to try to stick to the days in Echo because I played through everything. Yeah, sometimes they vary in length, so it's going to be awkward. Be short videos, long videos. So we'll just be finding a suitable spot to end each one. But there will be more from Echo before too long. I say that we carry on with Flynn's route. Next weekend is the start of a new series, which my patrons know about. And that will actually be on the Sunday, because next Sunday, as I record this, is the 7th anniversary. So I'm going to, rather than do an Echo video, which we're doing today, start the new series. So that's kind of what I did 7 years ago. It's really been a long time. But yeah, that's the plan for that. We have more Moonfire Seeker Saga coming up this month as well. And there might be something else in. I'm not too sure. I know in April we have more Monitor Hotel and more Infinite Space. A couple of things I need to get back to as well. So yeah, we'll see what comes up. I'm not too sure myself, but I'll let the patrons know. And speaking of my patrons, he says another terrible stretch segue. I always want to say thank you to everyone who donates on the Patreon and Ko-fi, are very, very much appreciated. And my top patrons are Andy Peng, Aaron Fox, Bastian, Bieka, Brian Hall, Govers Visser, Dissonance, Exact, Grizz, Harvey's Mouse Productions, Ada Corval, Evan King, Kartek, Matt Kenya, Mario Cervantes, Omar, Rafu, Spiderling, Samuto, Tiger Cub, Ara Amaterasu, Bulpers Need Coffee, Addy Bear, Greylock, and Lark Heskerton. So, special mention for them. So yeah, there will be more from Echo. We'll be seeing a lot more over the rest of the year as I work my way through it. This is going to be the only VN that has multiple routes where we're going to have everything shown on the channel. It's a lot of work to do, so I won't be doing that. And also Echo Project stuff. Chemia got its release for patrons, so that will be coming up maybe next month as well. We'll be seeing what's going on there. And yeah, that is it for now. Probably won't be a midweek video this week, but definitely next weekend the new series begins. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.